The story begins by introducing a high school student named Mike, who's at basketball practice. Mike is the star player on his high school basketball team. His coach, Murphy, tells him that a college scout is coming to watch tonight's game, and if he plays well, he could earn a scholarship. After that, Coach Murphy asks everyone to line up for team photos. Mike asks everyone to wait for a player named Ned. A few moments later, Ned shows up dressed like Harry Potter. The second he walks in, the rest of the team starts laughing at him, and it really hurts Mike because Ned is his best friend. Mike knows tonight could change his future in ways he never imagined. Later that night, the game finally begins. The crowd erupts as they cheer for Mike and his team, and Mike even dances for his fans before tip-off. Just as the game is about to start, he notices his girlfriend, Scarlett, sitting in the stands. He quickly walks over and gives her a hug, but something feels off. Scarlett doesn't seem like herself, so Mike asks what's wrong. One unexpected confession suddenly changes the entire mood before the opening tip-off. Scarlett quietly tells him that she's pregnant. The news completely catches Mike off guard. He's left standing there in shock, trying to process what he just heard. But Scarlett tells him to stay focused on the game, because this game means everything to his future. Some moments arrive without warning and instantly change everything you believed. After that, Mike heads back onto the court, but his mind is completely on Scarlett. A moment later, he sees her quietly getting up to leave. The second he notices her walking away, he abandons the game and runs after her. Mike catches up to Scarlett and tells her he wants to build a family with her. Scarlett tells him that she'll only ruin his future and says he needs to stay focused on the game. She tries to walk away, but Mike stops her and tells her they can start a new life together. Some decisions matter far more than any championship ever possibly could. The scene then jumps ahead 20 years. Mike is now 37 years old and living at the home of his best friend, Ned, who has become a billionaire. The two of them have breakfast together, and their conversation reveals that Mike's wife, Scarlett, has kicked him out of the house and wants a divorce. Even so, Mike is feeling optimistic because he believes an upcoming promotion at work will help him put his relationship back together. Hope keeps him moving, even while everything around him slowly falls apart. Mike arrives at work expecting good news. Instead, his boss promotes another employee, a woman who only joined the company a few months earlier. Furious, Mike argues with his boss, reminding him that he spent the last 16 years working for the company, yet someone who barely arrived is getting the promotion instead. In a single moment, every plan he believed in begins collapsing apart. Mike quits his job in anger and drives to his old high school to pick up his kids. It's the very same school he once attended. Before leaving, he walks into the gym and stands in front of the basketball court, staring at the photo of himself hanging on the wall as memories of his glory days come rushing back. That's when he notices the school's elderly janitor nearby. Mike quietly says that his childhood was the best time of his life and wishes he could go back and live it all over again. The old janitor asks if there was anything he wishes he had done differently, and Mike sadly answers yes. Hearing that, the janitor simply smiles. Sometimes one simple wish quietly changes everything that follows afterward. Just then, Mike's daughter Maggie walks in with her friends. As Mike looks around, he realizes the old janitor has suddenly disappeared. He doesn't think much of it and takes both Maggie and his son Alex out for ice cream instead. Throughout the outing, neither of them says much to him because they're both struggling with the fact that their parents are separating. Silence often reveals far more than words ever possibly can alone. Afterward, Mike drops the kids back home and walks into the backyard. Scarlett is throwing away some old belongings because she wants to remodel the backyard and start making changes around the house. Home no longer feels like the place where Mike truly belongs anymore. Mike hates seeing everything change. Their divorce isn't even final yet, but Scarlett has already started moving on with her life. Frustrated, Mike asks how they can suddenly walk away from a marriage that's lasted for so many years. Scarlett tells him they just can't stay together anymore. At that moment, her friend Naomi arrives and takes Scarlett away, leaving Mike standing there by himself, heartbroken. He walks away as a heavy rainstorm begins pouring down. The storm outside suddenly starts matching the one inside Mike completely. As Mike reaches a bridge, he spots an elderly man standing on the edge, preparing to jump into the river. Mike yells for him to stop, and the man turns around. That's when Mike realizes it's the same elderly janitor he met earlier at his old high school. The old man smiles at Mike, then suddenly jumps into the river. Shocked, Mike rushes to the edge to look down, but he slips, gets pulled into a powerful whirlpool, and is dragged beneath the water. One impossible encounter changes the direction of his entire life forever. Somehow, Mike manages to make it out of the river alive and heads straight to Ned's house. The first thing he does is take a shower, but the moment he looks into the bathroom mirror, he lets out a terrified scream. The reflection staring back at him is nothing like he expected to see. The truth is, after falling into that river, Mike has somehow become 17 years old again. Hearing Mike scream, Ned rushes into the bathroom. Not recognizing him, Ned assumes he's an intruder and attacks him, and the two end up fighting. Mike keeps trying to explain who he is, but Ned refuses to believe him. With no other choice, Mike starts reminding Ned about memories from their childhood, hoping it'll prove that he's really Mike. Some impossible truths can only be recognized through unforgettable shared memories together. Just then, Ned notices an old photo of Mike. The moment he sees it, he realizes the teenager standing in front of him really is his best friend. The two of them try to figure out what could have happened. Ned says he thinks a spirit guide somehow turned Mike back into his 17-year-old self. Hearing that, Mike realizes the elderly school janitor must have been the spirit guide, and that he's the one who made this happen. The impossible suddenly begins making more sense than ordinary reality itself. Mike immediately rushes back to his old high school and starts asking students about the elderly janitor. A female janitor tells him she's the only janitor working at the school. Just then, Mike notices a strange light reflecting off a puddle on the floor. As he follows it, he ends up standing on the basketball court. At that moment, he begins to believe God has given him one more chance to start his life all over again. For the first time, hope feels stronger than every regret he carries. Mike goes straight to Ned and tells him he wants to go back to high school. Ned refuses at first, but Mike has already made up his mind, leaving Ned with no choice but to help him. The two of them head to the high school, where Ned enrolls Mike by pretending to be his father and registers him under the name Mike. When Ned sees Principal Jane, he instantly falls for her and starts flirting with her, but Mike quickly pulls him outside. Mike's clothes look completely out of place, so the other students laugh at him, forcing Ned to take him shopping for a new wardrobe. A second chance only matters if he's willing to truly live it. The next day, Mike shows up at school in stylish clothes and arrives in a sports car, instantly catching everyone's attention. He heads to class when Scarlett calls him. That day is their divorce hearing, but Mike can't appear in court looking like a 17-year-old, so he lies and tells Scarlett that he's out of the country. Right then, a cheerleader asks Mike out on a date. Hearing that, Scarlett becomes furious and immediately tells her attorney she wants full custody of both kids. One innocent conversation unexpectedly pushes an already broken family even further apart. Just then, Maggie walks into the classroom. The moment Mike sees his daughter, he tells Scarlett that he's incredibly close to their children and that she'll never be able to keep them away from him. Even time cannot weaken the bond between a father and his children. After class, Mike joins basketball practice. A few students notice how talented he is and invite him to try out for the basketball team. Later, Mike heads into the restroom and calls Ned to share the good news. While he's there, he discovers Alex tied up with tape inside the restroom. Mike asks who did this to him, and Alex says it was members of the basketball team. Mike tells Alex that he's actually Ned's son, Mike. He quickly frees Alex and takes him to lunch, where he learns that Alex has a crush on Nicole, the captain of the cheerleading squad. Some battles begin long before anyone notices they're even happening at all. While they're eating, a student named Stan walks in with the basketball team. He spends his time bullying younger students by taking their lunches. Alex tells Mike that Stan is Maggie's boyfriend and that he constantly makes her life miserable. A moment later, Stan walks over to Mike and Alex and shoves Alex without hesitation. One fearless stand is sometimes enough to completely change the entire moment. Mike fires back with an insult that leaves Stan embarrassed, and the entire cafeteria bursts into laughter. After school, Mike returns to Ned's house and sadly tells him that his son is being bullied and his daughter is dating the wrong guy. That's when Mike decides he's going to help his own children himself. This time, he refuses to stand back and watch them suffer alone. The next day, Mike goes to Scarlett's house. After watching Alex's basketball skills, he tells him he should join the basketball team. Just then, Scarlett and Naomi arrive. The moment Scarlett sees Mike, something about him reminds her of her husband. She gently grabs his face and stares at him, trying to understand why he looks so familiar. Naomi quickly pulls Scarlett inside the house and tells her it's time to start dating someone else. Hearing that, Mike angrily throws a basketball at Naomi, then immediately apologizes. Naomi scolds him before walking back inside. Some familiar faces awaken feelings that logic can never truly explain. The next day at school, Mike catches Stan and Maggie kissing. Furious, he attacks Stan, and the two get into a fight. Stan easily overpowers Mike and beats him badly. Several students record the fight on their phones, and the video quickly goes viral. Because of that, Principal Jane calls both Mike and his father Ned into her office. Excited to see Jane again, Ned shows up dressed to impress and tries flirting with her, but she pays no attention to him. One reckless moment suddenly turns into everyone's favorite conversation at school. After school, Mike goes back to Scarlett's house and finds her working in the backyard. Scarlett proudly shows him all of her plants and flowers. Watching her so happy, Mike decides he'll start coming over every day to help her with the backyard. Sometimes helping someone becomes the only way to stay close to them. Mike also begins training Alex in basketball while doing everything he can to keep Maggie away from Stan. A few days later, both Mike and Alex make the same basketball team. Scarlett is thrilled by by the news and takes Mike into the backyard to show him everything she's been working on. Mike compliments how beautiful it looks. Then Scarlett tells him she's going out on a date that night. Later, Mike watches Scarlett dancing in front of a mirror and starts learning the dance himself. During their conversation, he asks about her husband. Scarlett quietly says she's convinced he'll never come back to her. The hardest truth is believing someone you loved is gone forever. Just then, Alex walks in and tells them that Jane is at the house. Hearing that immediately upsets Mike. He tries talking to Scarlett, but she leaves before he can say anything. A little later, Stan arrives and takes Maggie to a party. Mike decides to bring Alex along and follows them there. At the party, Alex spots Nicole and immediately tries to run away. Mike stops him and explains that he shouldn't avoid her. He should go talk to her instead. Real courage begins the moment you stop running from your fears completely. Mike starts searching for Maggie. Along the way, one of Maggie's friends stops him and starts flirting with him, but he politely talks his way out of the awkward situation and continues looking for Maggie. His only goal is protecting the people who matter most to him. Mike finally finds Maggie and asks what she even sees in Stan. Maggie tells him she loves Stan and plans to stay with him after high school. Hearing that makes Mike furious, and he tells her to stay away from Stan. Maggie gets angry and storms off. The next day, the school basketball game takes place. Scarlett and Jane both come to watch. Mike's team is trailing by 1 point when he notices Stan standing with Maggie. Instead of passing the ball to Stan, Mike passes it to Alex, who scores the winning basket for the team. One perfect decision changes far more than just the final score alone. Nicole congratulates Alex after the game, making him happier than ever. Meanwhile, Ned finally convinces Principal Jane to go on a dinner date with him. Later, Mike invites everyone over to his house so Alex and Nicole can spend time together. While everyone is arriving, Mike notices Maggie sitting alone and crying. He walks over and asks what happened. Maggie tells him she refused to have sex with Stan, so Stan broke up with her. Some heartbreaks quietly become the beginning of something much better ahead. Mike comforts Maggie, but then she suddenly tries to kiss him. Mike quickly pulls away, invites her to the party instead, and walks off. That night, during the party, Mike watches Alex and Nicole together and can't help smiling with happiness. Seeing his children happy becomes the greatest victory of his entire life. Meanwhile, Ned takes Jane out for dinner. Back at the party, Stan tries apologizing to Maggie, but she refuses to forgive him. Just then, Mike walks over and tells Stan to leave. Instead, Stan insults Maggie, making Mike furious enough to attack him. Stan punches Mike in the face and knocks him unconscious. When Mike finally wakes up, he finds himself alone in a room with Maggie. She tries to kiss him, but Mike immediately pulls away because she's his daughter. He gently tells her that he's in love with someone else, and after hearing that, Maggie quietly leaves the room. Some lines can never be crossed, no matter how confusing life becomes. Meanwhile, Scarlett goes to Ned's house looking for Alex. Mike tells her that Alex is spending time with Nicole. A little later, Ned and Jane return home. The moment Ned sees what happened to his house, he becomes furious. With Jane's help, he throws every student out of the house. One wild night suddenly pushes every relationship toward its breaking point. As everything settles down, Scarlett and Mike catch Alex and Nicole kissing. In that emotional moment, Mike suddenly kisses Scarlett. Shocked and furious, Scarlett slaps him across the face and walks away without saying another word. Sometimes, one impulsive choice creates damage that love alone cannot repair. Mike runs after Scarlett and tells her that he isn't Mike, he's actually her husband, Mike. Scarlett refuses to believe him and walks away. Afterward, Jane tells Ned that this is exactly why she never dates the parents of her students, and she leaves as well. Mike apologizes to Ned, but Ned responds by slapping him. The following morning, Ned cleans up the house while Mike sits alone, thinking about everything that happened the night before. That same day is Mike and Scarlett's divorce hearing, so Mike asks Ned to take him to the courthouse. The truth feels impossible when no one is willing to believe it. Once they arrive, the judge orders them to leave because neither of them has any legal connection to the case. Just then, Mike shouts that he has a letter from Mike. Hearing that, Scarlett asks him to read it aloud. Fighting back tears, Mike reads the letter and reminds Scarlett how they first met and how deeply he has always loved her. He apologizes for every mistake he made and begs her not to go through with a divorce. Every word comes straight from the heart he never stopped carrying. Scarlett is moved to tears. Mike quietly leaves the letter behind and walks out of the courtroom. Scarlett asks the judge to postpone the hearing, but when she finally opens the letter, she discovers that it only contains written directions. The real message was never written on the paper she held. Mike tells Ned that maybe it's time to walk away from his family and begin a new life. Meanwhile, Scarlett finds an old photo of Mike from 1989, along with a letter he once wrote for her. The scene then shifts back to the basketball court, where Mike's teammates tell him that a college scout is coming to watch the game and that tonight's matchup is incredibly important. Afterward, The team poses for a photo, recreating the exact same moment from the beginning of the story. Some memories return exactly when they're needed the most in life. As the game begins, Scarlett and Maggie arrive at the gym. Right before tip-off, Mike gives Scarlett the same special pose he showed her back in 1989. The instant she sees it, Scarlett realizes the teenage boy standing in front of her is actually her husband, Mike. Overwhelmed, she feels like she shouldn't even be there and starts walking away. One familiar gesture suddenly unlocks everything her heart had forgotten completely. Mike hands the ball to Alex and runs after Scarlett. At that exact moment, the elderly janitor appears once again, quietly smiling as he watches Mike. Some miracles only happen after someone truly earns a second chance. As Mike runs after Scarlett, he suddenly transforms back into his 37-year-old self. He wraps his arms around Scarlett and tells her that he wants to spend the rest of his life with her. Scarlett finally forgives him, and the two embrace once again. Love finally wins after surviving every impossible challenge placed before it. At the same time, Alex leads his high school basketball team to victory. Later, Mike goes to thank Ned and discovers that Ned and Jane are now in a relationship. Before long, Mike is hired as the new high school basketball coach. The future finally becomes everything he once dreamed it could truly be. Mike reunites with his family, and they begin living happily together once again. And with that, the story comes to an end. Sometimes the greatest victory is simply finding your way back home. Not every survivor gets a happy ending. Sometimes surviving is the punishment. If stories that leave scars instead of answers stay with you, subscribe to KTS Mosan, because some movies end, but your mind never really leaves them.